into Turkey from Syria, but also out. You can see that there are some men waiting to go back into Syria. We've seen families moving both directions. Some of the families that have been coming out have told us that they're leaving because of the war, also because they're worried about the possibility of some kind of U.S. military operation, and in particular about the possibility of reprisals from Syrian government forces in the wake of such a potential U.S. military strike. But we've also talked to, and it's important to note, there's not a flood of refugees coming out because of this. There are more than 200,000 Syrian refugees currently living in camps inside Turkey, many more living unofficially outside of camps, but the Turkish government estimates only 200 to 300 are coming out of Syria a day these days, which is not a substantial difference. A lot of the people that are coming forth are actually rebel fighters, not carrying their weapons, but perhaps coming here to rest, for medical treatment, or to see their families who are refugees in Turkey. And one of them told us he is very much in favor of the U.S. military attacking the Syrian regime. Take a listen.
If Obama fight al-Assad and his government, good. Thank you very much. But if he want to fight us all, you know, this is
no good.
This is a red line.
And there's clearly some suspicion among some rebels, some concern that maybe if the U.S. military attacked the Syrian regime, it might also take that opportunity to attack some of the rebels who are affiliated with al-Qaeda groups. Some concern there.
Now, the al-Assad regime has controlled Syria for more than 40 years. It started with Hafez al-Assad, and now his son runs the country. But there is the current president's brother, who is known and feared as the family enforcer. Brian Todd has more.
Decisions on the use of brute force inside the Syrian regime are connected not only to President Bashar al-Assad, but also to a man a couple of years younger, often by the president's side, always in the shadows, his brother Maher.
Maher is the kneecapper. He is in charge of securing, keeping the regime in power.
Considered more brutal than his brother, the muscle in the family, Maher al-Assad commands the 4th Division and the Republican Guard, elite Syrian military units composed of mostly minority Alawite Muslims, the same sect as the Assad clan. But he's got something else in his portfolio.
Maher, as well as his cousins, have come to control what's called the Shabiha, or ghosts. They're Alawite paramilitary forces.
Forces that analysts say have carried out massacres of Syrian villagers. Maher's actions once led Turkey's prime minister to publicly slam him, saying he's, quote, chasing after savagery. Ted Katouf is a former U.S. ambassador to Syria who's met with the Assad family.
What is the real influence that he personally has over his brother?
I think his brother has to be wary of him because he's a hothead. And he's known to be a hothead, and he's known not to have particularly great judgment. But you know, when you're ahead of a mafia-like regime, you depend upon enforcers.
A role Maher's relished, experts say, for many years. There's one legendary account of the time his sister was set to marry someone who wasn't exactly up to the family's standards.
He is said to have shot his brother-in-law in the stomach in the early days, before the brother-in-law was his brother-in-law, but was trying to marry Bushra. And the father did not approve of the marriage, thought he was low, and Maher was already the enforcer before the father died.
The brother-in-law was killed in a rebel bomb attack on the Syrian cabinet a year ago. Maher was believed to have been wounded in that attack and hasn't been seen since.
We don't even know. There was rumors that his leg was blown off, he was badly wounded. This could be true. We don't know exactly what condition he is in today.
If Maher al-Assad is still alive and still helping his brother, they'd be following a menacing family tradition. Their late father, dictator Hafez al-Assad, placed his own brother, Rifat, as head of some important Syrian security units. Rifat al-Assad was reported as a key figure behind a 1982 massacre in the city of Hama, in which tens of thousands of Syrian civilians were killed. Brian Todd, CNN, Washington.
A teenage boy has been convicted in what is a notorious Delhi gang rape case. A medical student attacked by 5 men on a bus. You may recall earlier last year, December sparked an outrage across India. Now the victim later died at a Singapore hospital. Samima Uda has more on the sentencing from New Delhi.
has been handed down on one of the 5 suspects on trial over that deadly gang rape of a student in that moving bus back in December. The court has found the juvenile suspect guilty, and he's been convicted on charges of murder, rape, and robbery. And because he was a juvenile, because he was 17 at the time the crime was committed, he was being tried at this court, the Juvenile Justice Board. And the maximum sentence he can face, because he was a juvenile, is 3 years in the correctional home, and that's exactly what's been awarded to him. Here you've got a bunch of protesters who are very unhappy with that verdict, and they say, we want justice. We want justice! Many people in India have been objecting to this, saying if he's old enough to commit such a heinous crime, he should be charged as an adult and face the death penalty. The parents of the gang rape victim were inside the court when that verdict was announced. They say they're very unhappy with this, and they have 60 days to appeal, and that's exactly what they will do. Sunima Uras, CNN, New Delhi.
And before we end this edition of the news, a reminder of our headlines. The Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs, Ajad Dr. Aissatou Njie Seydi, has bid farewell to Cuban and Kuwaiti top diplomats to the Gambia who concluded their terms of duty in the country. UNFPA Banjul office has presented medical equipment worth over $10 million to the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. Scores of desperate civilians are rushing to cross the border into Turkey amid fear of an impending U.S. strike on government military targets in Syria. And a court in Delhi has sentenced a teenage boy 3 years in jail after he was found guilty of involvement in the gang rape of a medical student in Delhi. Well, that brings us to the end of the news. Thanks for the pleasure of your company. Stay tuned and enjoy GRT's programs.
seetaan amaat mbégte lool di leen dalal ak seen beneen programme New Resource ngeen baaxoo di ci ànd ak seen xarit wax bi tey Hello there and welcome to another edition of New Resource. It's once again your host Rohibite, and today we'll be looking at a very essential, I can say, product that is produced locally here in the country. Though many people would doubt that this is actually happening in this country, because usually what we know is how that it is imported in this country, which is normally sold in our supermarkets and a lot of other business entities here in the country. But today New Resource gives you the opportunity to know how mango jam is produced locally in this country. We visited a processing plant there at Lamendaranka to find out how mango jam and also a locally consumed product called granite cake, how it is locally produced here in the country. But first of all, what we will do is just join them and find out what mango jam processing is like. Well, viewers, as you just seen, this is where everything starts. As you can see, they've already cleaned the place and we are starting to the processing right now. As you can just see, I've already covered my hair, which shows an indication of how this processing is like, and also remove my shoes. Here is a place where one shouldn't go inside with your shoes on. So that's why we are here on barefoot. And also, the next thing I'll do is to also wear a gown just like them to see how the processing is done here. To start with, your name, please.
Yes, I'm Abdulsalam.